Hello and welcome to my instructional environment video for Induction. I'm going to walk you a little bit through my classroom and respond to the questions as I move around the room. So the first question is about student safety concerns, and I address that right here by my door. I have my emergency folder ready to go and updated, as well as our classroom sign, so if we need to get out in a hurry, we can grab those things on the way out. I also have my classroom with some pretty wide aisles. I try to keep those consistent, and I also ask students to keep their backpacks out of the aisles. That way, if there's an emergency, we can all quickly and easily get up out of the room. We try to keep any major clutter away from the doors, so that way we can all get out easily. In terms of strategically placing students, I do have students set in groups of 4. The reason for that is being so they can be grouped up in those different arrangements. So I try to pair advanced learners with students who may need some modeling or a little bit of extra support. So that includes students with special needs as well as English learners. If possible, I try to pair my English learners with another English learner who may be a little bit more advanced than them. That way they have someone who kind of understands maybe the challenges that they're facing in the classroom and who can also support them in that way. Students with special needs, I try to place them at a table with an open seat. That way if there's an aide, the aide or myself, we can sit down with them one-on-one and help them, give them that extra support. In terms of students communicating and collaborating with myself and others, I do have students, again, set up in these groups. That way they're able to work in groups together. I try to, teach a lesson, give students an opportunity to discuss and try it out in a group, and then share out with the class. So this way we don't have to worry about moving desks around. We're already set up in our groups, and the groups are purposefully created. In terms of my classroom behavior management system, I actually have my classroom rules right here towards the middle of the room. That way students from just about any seat, I believe, they are able to see our expectations, and it's a nice way to remind them what they're supposed to be doing. So we have our basic expectations: listening to and following directions, showing respect to your peers, no eating or drinking in the classroom unless it's water, without technology, keeping hands and feet to yourself, raising your hand before speaking or leaving your seat, and being prepared and ready to learn. And I also have my classroom consequences listed here as well. So the first time, it's a verbal warning. Second time is a phone call, emails home. The third one would be detention, and the fourth is referrals to the assistant principal if necessary. By my door, I also have another sign for students to be reminded of what they're supposed to be doing to be on task. So students are pretty good at this one by this point in the year, but to quietly check the board for directions, make sure your backpack is put up under your desk and out of the aisles, getting out necessary materials, and wait quietly for directions. I also have an agenda that's usually projected on the board when students come in, so they already know what they need to get out and what their homework is going to be for the night. So at our school, we don't necessarily have behavior slips, but we have like a virtual Google form. So if I do have a student who repeatedly, maybe I'm having a concern for their behavior, of course I do give them a verbal warning, and I typically reach out to home first, and then that is when I will make the connection with the assistant principal to see if we can get a little bit of extra support for the student and their behavior. I also have my homework agenda up on the board. I teach 3 different classes, but for 2 of them there is homework. So there's no homework in drama this week, woohoo! But for English we do have some work going on, so I have this here. I also have all of my homework and my daily agendas, like I said, what I have projected up here. I have that all available on Google Classroom at all times, and everything we've done so far throughout the year, so that way if a student is ever absent, they don't need to wait to come into the room in order to check their work. Another system I use is I have a while you were out folder. So if students are absent, they can just pop over here, check in their class period to see what work they missed. There will be handouts in there or any pass back work. So they're able to just pick that up, and then they can check in with me for further directions. I have a lot of different resources in my classroom throughout the room. Over there I have our classroom, our Chromebook cart. Over here is where I send students probably the most. I have a lot of different paper supplies, in here as well. So I have lined paper. I also have some scratch paper if students need to brainstorm. We have colored pencils, glue sticks. I have some headphones down there. We have rulers over there. And then this back area, it's more my area, but I do have extra supplies in these cabinets. So, for example, earlier we were running low on pencils, so I'm able to just get in here and get pencils. I don't let students have access to that, but if we're missing any supplies, they can just let me know and I can go in and get supplies for them. I have ordered more supplies such as staplers and tape, and I try to keep half of it over here and half of it on the other side of the room, so that way students aren't walking back and forth and distracting each other. We also have a lovely bookshelf over here. I've tried to organize the books by series where I can. Being an English teacher, I can't help it. And then we have some anthologies that were left here, folklore. We have some nice signage as well to remind students to read. And we have some other books that students in one of my classes have been reading, so if they're in the middle of reading a book, I let them, leave it in class, and I'll keep it safe for them and mark their spot. In terms of distributing student supplies, I typically just call on a student or ask for student volunteers. Students are usually pretty willing to help pass out things, or I pass out items while students are doing other work. For example, if I have handouts that need to go out, I'll pass those out while students are filling out their agenda or completing their bell ringer when they come in. So that way, once they're done, we're ready to move on and they already have their supplies ready to go. So I hope you enjoyed my little classroom tour. It's always a work in progress, and I hope to be adding more to it soon. Thank you.